negative number. How can we take the square root of a negative number? Before now, we are familiar on how to take the square root of a positive number. For example, if you are asked to take the square root of 9, the answer is 3. What is square root? Square root is a factor of a number which multiplied by itself to give you the number. For example now, with 9 is 3, because among all the factors of 9, which are 1, 3, is only 3 that can multiply by itself to give you 9. Because 3 times 3 is what? Is 9. This is for positive number. Now I want to look at square root of a negative number. How can we take the square root of a negative number? Look at this statement. We cannot multiply a number by itself to get a negative number. Like the way we multiply 3 by 3 to get 9. There's no way we multiply a number by itself to give us a negative number. So how can we find the square root of a number if we cannot multiply a number together to give us a negative number? So for example now, 3 times 3 is 9. Minus 3 times minus 3 is also 9. So there's no way you multiply a number by itself that you get a negative or a negative number. So but imagine that such number occur. Imagine that such number would occur. Let's call it what? I. The I here represents what? Imaginary number. That I times I, when you multiply I times I by itself, we are going to have a negative 1. Are we together? So there's no number that we can multiply by itself to give us a negative one number. But let's imagine that there is such number, which is I. I stand for imaginary number. I times I, which is I times I will give us what? Minus what? Minus 1. So what is I times I? I times I is what? I squared equals to what? Minus 1. Now we are looking for I. We can take the square root of both sides. That shows that square root of what? I squared is equals to what? Square root of what? Minus 1. This is square, this is square root. They are opposite to each other. So square and square root we cancel. So you'll be left with ordinary what? Ordinary I. I now is equals to what? Root of what? Root of minus 1. So take note of this. So anytime you see I stand for square root of what? Minus what? Minus 1. So let's apply this and see. For example, e.g., if we have, let's say square root of minus 9, let's start from here. Square root of minus 9. How can we take the square root of minus 1? This can also be written as what? Square root of what? 9 times what? Minus 1. Because 9 times minus 1 will give us what? Will give us minus what? Minus 9. Now from the principle of solve, this can also be written as what? Square root of 9 times what? Square root of what? Minus 1. So square root 9 times square root 9 will give us what? Square root of 9 times minus 1 from the principle of what? From the principle of solve. So this can also be written like this. Now, what is square root of 9? Square root of 9 is 3. What is square root of minus 1? Don't forget, square root of minus 1 is what? Is I. Times what? Times your I. So 3 times I will now give us what? 3 what? 3I. That shows that square root of minus 9 is equals to what? Is equals to 3I. So when you take the square root of minus 9, you have what? 3I. That shows that 3I is a factor of what? Minus 9. So because today when you multiply 3I times itself, you're going to have what? You're going to have minus 9. Let's just check in and see. What is 3I times 3 or times 3I? Because when you multiply together, you must get to the minus 9. 3I times 3I. This can also be written as what? 3 times I times 3 times what? Times I. Because this 3I means 3 times I. Multiplication. 3 times I is also mean what? 3I. So now, 3 times 3 times I times what? Times I. What is 3 times 3? You have 9. What is I times I? You have what? I what? Square. Then 9 times, what is I squared? Mind you, I squared is what? Minus 1. So you add your minus 1 here. So what is 9 times minus 1 is what? Minus 9. You can see it. So when we multiply 3I times 3I, you are going to have what? The minus 9. That shows the root of minus 9 is what? Is equals to 3I. So let's pick another example. Example 2. When you have to find the square root of minus 16. Square root of minus 16 can also be written as what? Square root of 16 times minus what? Minus 1. What will happen to it? Can also be written as what? Square root of what? 16 times what? Square root of what? Minus 1 from the principle of solve. This can be split like this. So what is square root of 16? Square root of 16 is 4. What is square root of minus 1? Square root of minus 1 is what? Is I. So what is the answer now? You have what? 4I. That shows that square root of minus 16 is equals to what? Equals to 4 what? Equals to 4I. That shows that if you take the square root of minus 60, you are going to add 4i, which means that 4i times 5i will give us what? Minus 60. So with this, I believe you can take the square root of any negative or any negative number. So that, what does that mean? It means that if you're asked to take the square root of any number, let's start from 1. Square root of minus 1, as we all know, is what? Is I. When you take the square root of minus 1 is I. Let's move to the next one. Square root of minus 4. What is square root of minus 4? Square root of 4 is 2. Then square root of minus 1 is what? Is I. Let's move to another. Square root of 9 minus 9, you are going to have 3i. We are moving. Square root of minus 16, what will you have? You are going to have what? 4i. By following this procedure, you get all these things. Square root of minus 25, so we are going to have what? 5i. So it's the negative you are saying that is introducing this I. Are we together? So you can see that square root of minus 36 will also give us what? Will also give us what? 6i. When you continue, you'll be adding I. What does that mean? Anytime you're asked to take square root of any negative number, you must introduce what? Introduce I. And thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.